The RX-5 is our answer to an open-top sports car which recycles rusty Mazda MX-5s. We've seen these naturally aspirated and turbocharged, but nothing quite as crazy as this.
In the brand new RX-5 250 demonstrator car. Bit different to any of the other builds which have sort of happened so far, as this one's sporting a 19T hybrid turbo, and just recently came off the dyno. This is Joe's first time driving it since the newest remap, and on low boost it was pushing 280 brake horsepower, and with our little button which we've got in the middle here which says high boost, what is it, 340, 330?
I think it's 340 and 280 foot-pound.
Yeah, so 340 brake horsepower, 280 foot-pound of torque. That's quite a lot, considering this car weighs near about 500 kilo, which is absolutely ridiculous.
60 horsepower on a button.
Yeah, you're adding 60 horsepower by clicking that little button which is sitting right in the middle of the dash. So this is going to be an exciting drive nonetheless, and it's going to be more about the car than me talking. So without further ado, I think let's go. Classic 1 Series right in front of us. Yeah, watch him go in front. Hold on. Not quite, mate. This thing is not slow. The popping and banging coming out the side of this is just ridiculous. I don't know, I'm going to look on my left and there's going to be a massive fireball. Yeah, this thing is seriously fast. This is ridiculous.
We haven't even pushed that button yet.
Yeah, this is on low boost. That's quite quick. Yeah, this is ridiculous. I cannot believe that we are driving on low boost and this is how it is pulling. Oh. I feel like I need a minute to get my words out. At the rate the air is coming from the atmosphere and going up my nose, it's unreal. I feel like we're getting about 4 times the normal amount of oxygen. In the middle of the dials, which obviously come off your donor car, we have a little canvas sort of like sensor screen here. So on there you can read your oil temps, your boost pressure, pretty much anything you need to check up on whilst the car's driving. I would say I can read those as we're driving right now, but I've strapped myself in so tight with these harnesses I cannot lean forward at all. So the dial, which is actually in the middle, was supplied by CanCheck. So if you're looking at potentially getting one of those in a turbo car yourself, then you know who to go to. In terms of the aesthetics of this car, I mean, I've seen a relatively large amount of MKs just from the nearly a year of working for the company, and I can't say I've seen one which looks more finished and like a production car than what this does. I mean, just all of the bodywork in general, like the body lines just flowing around the car, it looks like something which has just come out of a production factory. This really is probably one of the most revised MKs that have been built up to this date, and probably one of the most fun to sit in and I imagine drive too. The turbo flutter that comes from this car is so addictive, it's ridiculous. It's such a nice pitch. I mean, it's ASBO to the max, but not too chavvy, if that makes sense. It's quite, I mean, with the amount of horsepower and torque this thing's pushing out, that turbo flutter is terrifying for anyone that tries to race it. You hear that when you let off the accelerator, and I don't know about you, but no matter what car I'm driving, I'm probably going to turn around and go the other way. Sitting through the village though, I mean, it's mental how well this thing just sits at cruising speed. I mean, at the minute it's sitting at 1500 RPM, just above. Cruises just like an absolute chore. I mean, just driving through the villages, and then when you get out into your 60 mile an hour zone, you never go over 60 because you know that's breaking the law, and we don't do that around here. This thing really is a complete car to go on road trips with, especially if you want to show up your mates. Give us a run for your money. I don't know how, but that backfire just managed to echo through the trees outside. I think we're nearing on the part of the video where the special button in the middle of the car may have to be pressed, because we felt what 280 brake horsepower feels like, but the question is, what does 330 brake horsepower feel like? Definitely more. Yes. Here we go, fourth gear pull on high boost. Let's see what it does.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah, that is serious. Talk about being pinned back in your seat. This is just ridiculous. I mean, even just tapping the accelerator, my head is being flown back. I mean, Rich from RLM, which does all of the dyno work for us, put this on the dyno and remapped it, took this out for a spin after it had been remapped. And that man builds and races race Hayabusa engines in the Cup 200 cars. And let's just say he was a little bit surprised and shook up after he took this for a little spin. And I'm not surprised, because this thing is just ridiculous. I mean, if you come down to the factory and get your bum in the seat that I'm sitting in right now, I genuinely can't put words together to describe what this is like, sitting inside it. So for those of you who are worried about engine temperatures with the turbo cars, we've given it some little pulls, let's just say that. Just pulled over to pull up a little app on Joe's phone, because we're potentially going to be testing the 0 to 60 time of this. It's going to be hard to get an accurate representation of what this is like 0 to 60 without breaking traction on the road, because it is a lot of power. But the fan's not even kicked on to bring the engine temperature down, because the coolant temp is still below
It's
high.
not even 90 degrees.
Yeah, so the coolant temp's not even 90 degrees, as Joe's just said. So, boasting a few figures about this car. In the UK, this is the highest torque MK, we believe. If I'm wrong, pop it down in the comment section if your car has more torque than this, being 280 foot-pound on high boost. The only one which we believe is higher torque is over in Canada, and that has a EcoBoost engine in it. So, I don't think it's ridiculously more amount of torque, but let's just say this thing is absolutely ridiculous.
We come in.
Yeah, go. We are yet to confirm what the 0 to 60 time is, because the app that we were trying to use did not work. Yeah, the brakes on this are real. Yeah, Joe was just saying, you can pretty much drive this car like an automatic, sitting literally whatever gear you want. It doesn't matter, you put your foot down and it's still going to pull. That was in 6th gear. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about that one. That is just absolutely ridiculous. Pulls faster than most road cars in the top gear. The suspension setup in this thing is really comfortable as well. I mean, I don't feel like I'm being thrown around on the road like as if I'm sitting in a track car per se. Like, I feel like I'm sitting in a comfortable sort of road trip car which has a few horsepower, let's put it that way. It's definitely not slow. 60 to 120 kilometre an hour pull. We say to so many people, customers that come in and want cars with ridiculously high horsepower, especially ones interested in the RX-5 turbo sort of range, they're like, I've had cars in the 600 horsepower range before, so having something 250 brake doesn't interest them. You do not need this sort of power. I mean, this car was purely built for like the monopolisation of how ridiculous having this much horsepower actually is. I mean, the chance of you being able to put this down on a normal drive out on the road is literally second to none.
I mean, in third and fourth.
Yeah, we're pulling onto a dual carriageway and trying to do a pull in 3rd or 4th gear, full throttle. It's going to spin up inevitably, just from how light the car is and the amount of power that you're putting down onto the road. It just realistically isn't going to happen. I mean, if you head over to watch some of the test drives on the RX-5 140, for someone that has driven fast cars, like if you've had 300, 400 horsepower road cars, a lot of the time having something which is close to 300 brake horsepower per tonne is going to be similar in performance than those 300 to 400 brake horsepower road cars. So if you're convincing yourself that you need upwards of 300, 400 brake horsepower on one of these cars, you are wrong at the end of the day. And it's not all about pub figures, like how much horsepower your car makes, because you might have a buddy that's got a car that's 500, 600 brake horsepower. Even if you had an RX-5 250 running close to 240, 250 brake horsepower, they sit in the car and they're going to be blown away inevitably. I mean, let's be honest, everyone that is ever going to be watching this video is interested to some car, or interested in cars to some extent. And at the end of the day, everyone that likes fast cars has a lovely feel of adrenaline. And let's be honest, we're all addicted to that feeling, and this car is not short of giving you an adrenaline rush. I mean, just sitting in the passenger seat, I don't tend to get scared when I'm sitting in a passenger seat of cars, but this really does get your heart pumping. Like, just how quickly you can go from one place to the next is just absolutely ridiculous. And the amount of times I've said that in this video, you're probably getting sick of it, but if you come down and get sat in this seat that I'm sitting in now, you'll do nothing but agree to everything that I've said in this video. I mean, it's such a comfortable ride, ridiculously fast car, but I mean, it's not overly expensive to build either. If you're trying to find a car in this performance, in this price range, one thing I'll say to you is good luck finding one that isn't this car. This car has been too long in the making, and the final product, which Joe's managed to build here, is just absolutely ridiculous with the help from Rich tuning this car. But I think that's about it for the test drive on this car. There's not overly much more than I can say, rather than just letting this engine scream going up through the revs and the miles per hour. So I want to say a big thank you for watching this video, and honestly, if you get down to the factory and get yourself out in this car, you are not going to regret it. So please like, subscribe, don't forget to share the video, and we'll see you next week.